Well, everybody, thank you for being here. We want to welcome you to the commemoration of the 20th year anniversary of Eagle Mountain City. As many of you know, Eagle Mountain was incorporated in 1996 on December 3rd, and we started with just a population of 250 residents. In a short 20 years, the city has grown to over 31,000 people today, if you can believe that. It's been an incredible evolution in which everyone here tonight has played a part. We'd like to thank you all for coming and for sharing this evening with us as we reflect on the growth that has taken place over this city's 20-year history. This is truly a wonderful community, and I think that all of you probably believe that just as much as I do, and that's probably part of why you're here. To begin, I'd like to recognize some former elected officials who are here with us tonight, and if you could just please stand when I say your name. And then I'd also like to recognize our current council members as well. So with us tonight, Debbie Hoagie. Debbie, thank you. I believe we have Candy Bateman representing the late Rob Bateman. David Liffrith. Heather Jackson. Nathan Oxenhurt. Richard Steinkop. Ryan Ireland. Donna Burnham. John Painter. And then Janice Sloan and Vincent Lydiard send their regards, but they were not able to make it to us this evening. And I'm sorry, Don Richardson, you are on here. Thank you very much. And Diane Jacob. Thank you. So forgive me, I fumbled that a little bit. Did I miss anybody? Thank you very much for everyone for being here. We'd also like to recognize our current city council, Adam Bradley. Thank you. Colby Curtis. Thank you. Stephanie Gracious. Ben Reeves, and Tom Westmoreland. I'm too methodical. I had to look at my notes as I was calling off their names. For our current council, that doesn't surprise any of you. So we do have a number of speakers here. Our first speaker tonight was a member of the first Eagle Mountain City Council, Diane Bradshaw. She'll be followed by Finn Kofed, who happens to be our city recorder, but she's also been a resident since 1998. And after Finn, we'll hear from Miss Eagle Mountain, Kaylee Blacka, and then I'll add some additional remarks after that. Diane?
Thanks, Mayor. It's kind of neat to be here. Well, actually, it is really neat to see so many people that I haven't seen for quite a while. Brings back a lot of memories. And when Fanula asked me to do this, it was interesting to kind of go back and reflect on the last 20 years and to remember some of the things that we've done. When I first moved out here 20 years ago, the city had just barely gotten incorporated. And I still remember Debbie Hoagie coming to my house and saying, "Would you like to be on the first city council?" And me being naive and stupid said, "Sure, that sounds like fun." Little did I know. But we met I think it was a month later, we met with the county commissioners, and at the time one of them was our current Governor Herbert, and we were actually sworn in. And I still remember going through that process, again, not fully understanding what was going on. And at the very end of our swearing in, one of the commissioners leaned over and he said, "Do you have any idea what you've gotten yourself into?" And I still remember kind of being a little starstruck and shaking my head no. And as the years have gone on, I've said the same thing. Did I have any idea what I got myself into? It's been a lot of fun. First city council, I still remember, we met in the basement of the Hutchings Museum, and we didn't know what we were doing. We all kind of sat there. There were 5 of us, and we made some important decisions even at that time. And then as time went on, we were making more important decisions. Probably the biggest thing we had to do was work on the master plan, the development code, and then we had to get some infrastructure. We weren't sure how we were going to make this city work. And it was fun to kind of go through that process and to work with the different people that helped us out. Scott Kirkland's here, John Walden, some of the other people that were instrumental, Corey Walker. And it was really fun to kind of get their feedback and their help in knowing exactly what to do. And we also worked on some different things as far as how to make this city grow, how to make it special. One thing that was really important at the time was having parks, having trails that went through so everybody could feel part of a community. And back then, there were only a few hundred of us. And so it was really hard to see what you all see today. It was a really hard time picturing what that vision was. I still remember when we first moved out here, my oldest child was in kindergarten, and the buses wouldn't even come out here. So I had to drive clear down to Redwood Road. The buses picked her up there and then took her to school. And she's now 26. And in that time period living here, she went to 4 elementaries, 2 middle schools, and I believe 2 high schools. And she lived in the same house. So that tells you the growth just with one of my children. But it was neat to watch those changes. At the time, Redwood Road was a two-stop place. And I think one of my biggest regrets as being on the city council was we didn't annex all that land in. But at the time, we didn't see any reason to. There was nothing here. There was nothing even at Redwood Road. So, again, one of the regrets. But it was a lot of fun. I still have that first year. I put this up every year for Christmas, and we were given these that first Christmas. And I don't know if any of the other people have these. Anyone? Okay. Some are shaking their head. Diane's got one. But that was really neat. And this was something that was to commemorate our first Christmas in Eagle Mountain. And it was really, like I say, it was a really neat experience to feel part of a community. I worked with Fran Watt at the time on our first Pony Express days. And I still remember getting together here. We met in a parking lot, and we just handed out pancakes. City council, we put those together, and we just had a few hundred people come, if that. But it was really neat to feel that community spirit. And like I say, at the time, we're wondering what we were getting into, and looking at it now, I think we made some good things happen. We also had some regrets and some mistakes. But at the same time, I think that we've grown to be a great place. I hope that everybody here realizes that they're part of something exciting, and hopefully we'll be able to do this again in 10 more years and look back and have some great experiences. So, thank you.
Will somebody please let me know when my 3 minutes are up? I was asked what I was going to speak about tonight, and I have some stories. 20 years ago, actually about 19 years ago, my husband and I were looking for somewhere new to live. I had itchy feet, and we were trying to get away from the hustle and bustle of Salt Lake County. I drove out here, had no idea where I was going, my first experience driving into Cedar Valley. And I was taken aback by the beauty of the place. Fortunately, the home that I went to look at over in White Hills didn't work out. But on my way here, a sign caught my eye that said Eagle Mountain, Town of the Future. And I was intrigued by it because I couldn't see anything. There was nothing. Yeah. Anyway, so I took out on the 5-mile drive along Eagle Mountain Boulevard, convincing myself that I was going to find something out here. I kept looking and wondering and thinking, what am I going to find out at the end of this road? And there wasn't really much out here. We had the fire station was close to completion, and there were lots of holes, lots of mud, construction trailer, and I thought, wow, there's lots of elbow room. There's no other homes. I kind of like it out here. The tumbleweeds, did I mention tumbleweeds? They used to scare me as we'd watch them roll across the fields. But anyway, I went home and I told my husband about this place that I thought that I wanted to make our new home in. And we drove out here together, and we were met by a huge dust storm on the way out here. And Chris's words were, "Who'd want to live out here?" I don't know if any of you remember back in those days, but there were some times where we had to close the roads down because the visibility was zero. It's improved over the years as we've developed, but that was a real problem back there. Anyway, that was 1998, we closed on our 5th home, and it was out here in Eagle Mountain, and it was met with a little bit of trepidation and excitement about what we were getting ourselves into because there really wasn't anything out here. I remember checking in with the city. I thought I'd done my due diligence. We'd bought lots of homes before. I never had to worry about where my rubbish was going to be collected from, who was going to provide that service. I had checked with Sue Fraley out in the office was located in Lehigh at the time, and she assured me that our utility rates were going to be comparable, not to worry about it. And we moved into the home in April of '98. We were the only ones out here in the town center. That is our claim to fame. First hook up to the utilities, I got to choose my phone number, and it's still the same. I remember Diane's is 1 digit more than mine, and it hasn't changed. And the phones were kind of a funny thing back then. I don't know if any of you realized that we had a party line out here, and boy, was it a party when you'd pick it up and somebody else was on the line. You could learn a lot of things about your neighbors, let me tell you. So anyway, I remember wondering, where's our rubbish? Who's going to collect the rubbish? And the city hadn't worked anything out of that stage. So I had to call BFI, and I thought, there's no way they're going to come out here and pick up our bins, but they did, and it was good for them because slowly but surely, people started moving in. Some people thought we were crazy moving out here. Maybe we were, but we weren't the only ones. We met some fantastic people back in those days. A lot of you I've known since I first came out to Eagle Mountain. My name first shows up on the records of the minutes in June of 1998, and the complaint was that the utilities were too high. I often laughed throughout the years as other people moved in and complained about the high utility rates. We had a lot of talk about selling the utilities, and I wanted to tell people, you know nothing. You have no idea what we went through back in the day with our utility rates. I don't know if any of you remember 2001 was a bad year. And we soldiered through. We made it through, and we could appreciate later in the years when our utility rates were more comparable. I remember getting my first telephone bill. I called Ireland a lot, too much, in fact. And I remember going to the telecom. We hadn't received our first bill. It took several months for the first bills to come out, and some of the other residents that had moved out to this city thought, man, we're getting free utilities, free phone services, and we had been putting money away because I thought nothing's free. And I remember getting that first bill, and it was pretty close to $2 per minute to Ireland. It about broke the bank. Fortunately, they were able to review everything, and they changed the rates, and we were able to eat and move on. I had 2 young kids living out here with my husband. We were enjoying our new surroundings. I could let my kids out and play, didn't worry about where they were going, what they were doing, because they were within the close proximity to the house, play in the mud, go search for tadpoles, all that fun stuff. And I was working as a CNA at Cottonwood Hospital. I was finishing up some prerequisites to go to nursing school, hopes of going to nursing school. And I think I was, for those of you who remember the Bandana Broiler on Redwood Road, I worked some shifts there too. I was a busy lady trying to make ends meet with my husband. And driving the long drive back one day from my job, I thought, I can't do this anymore. And in my free time, by the way, I used to stop by City Hall. I had new friends there, Janet Valentine, and I I used to, in my spare time, go stuff envelopes for all of the public hearings. And I went into the office that day, can't remember, probably to pay a bill or something. But Janet handed me an application and said, fill it out. Little did I know how much my life would change with filling that application out. I was hired to be the recording secretary and later deputized. A few people questioned that one since I was an immigrant. I didn't have the status, but apparently, according to our legal the attorney said that was not a problem. Anyway, I soon gave up my medical books and exchanged them for city code. My vocabulary expanded to include words like impact fees, reimbursement agreements, equity buy-ins. A lot of times I was writing about things I had no idea about, but it was new, it was exciting, it was great to be a part of a growing community, and I enjoyed working with the people that I worked with. We were small in numbers. I think I was the 15th employee that was hired by the city, and we wore many hats. Some suited more than others, but we got the job done. We were cross-trained, and we all worked together to try and do the best that we could. The same thing was true of the community. Living out here so far away from everybody, we had a sense of unity. People needed each other, and because of that, we were stronger. We had opportunities to go lay sod over in Pony Express Park. We had many service projects. I worked with my husband and many of you here and picking weeds. I learned more than anybody needs to know about kochia and Russian thistle. And for all of the development that was going on out here in Eagle Mountain, I also learned that soil disturbed and not treated, you're going to grow weeds. And I think weeds were the only thing that grew well back here in Eagle Mountain. As we continued to grow, we were able to employ more people, and I took a brief hiatus from Eagle Mountain and went over to Saratoga Springs. Biggest mistake in my life, yes, traitor. It wasn't long before I realized how much I missed the community working for Eagle Mountain and the close sense of family that I had, just the good relations with the people that I worked with. And it took a few years, but thankful to Miss Heather Jackson, Mayor Heather Jackson, for allowing me an opportunity to come back and work in the city. It's been 9 years since that time, and it has been a tremendous pleasure, honor, to work with many people here and to see the city grow to where we are today. I had no idea back then that we could be anywhere close to where we are today. I've worked with some tremendous people. I've learned from many of you that have served on the council as mayors and council members, and I've worked with some great city administrators too. Mr. Ifo Pili has a great innate sense of thinking outside the box. And because of some of his innovative ideas, we are leaps and bounds ahead of where we were before. And I appreciate the confidence that he places in me and other department heads to do what we do to serve this community. One of the common themes as you look back at who we are as residents, developers, employees, is that we took risks, we took chances. And had we not done that, we wouldn't be where we are today. And I appreciate the vision, the dreams and aspirations of those that have put so much into building the community that we have today. I know it's difficult. And to our employees, too, as a perspective as an employee, it's not always easy being a municipal employee, but working with good mayors and councils, it helps us to be able to do our job, and we appreciate your support. I'll leave you with one thought, if I can read it. 19 years ago, I could see. It's impossible, said pride. It's risky, said experience. It's pointless, said reason. Give it a try, said the heart. And I believe that we all have the heart, and I appreciate the time and effort and the heart that each and every one of you have put into our community. I'm very proud to be a member of the community and to also work for the city, and I appreciate your support. Thank you.
I'd like to first thank the mayor and the city council and all of you for allowing me to be here today to talk to you guys. I moved to Eagle Mountain when I was 5 years old, and I remember when I was moving in, it was a new area to me and a new house. I felt like everything was changing, and when we moved in, I thought that I forgot how to breathe because of the new house and the new area. I thought that there was also new air. And so I spent what felt like a whole day teaching myself how to breathe again. Talking about growing up in Eagle Mountain is hard because I don't know anything different. The only memories I have from a child are in Eagle Mountain. But while I don't know anything different, I grew up in this city, and I've watched the city grow up with me. When we moved in, we were the only house on our street, and now not only is our street filled with houses, but they've even expanded the street to twice its size. I remember dirt hills from the foundations of houses that were being built were our playground of choice. And I remember making the long and what felt like difficult bike ride up Eagle Mountain Boulevard to Lake Mountain Road so that we could ride our bikes down as fast as we could. Lake Mountain, feels like a second home because of all of the hikes, the ATV rides, and the camping trips that I've taken up there. When I was 7, I don't know if any of you guys will know what I'm talking about, but on Eagle Mountain Boulevard, as you're on the straightaway off to the west, there's this, it looks like an antenna tower or something, and every time we drove past it, I told my mom that I knew exactly what it was. It was what the Indians built when they first settled here so that they could remember where they lived when they went on hunting trips so that they could come back to their home. Hearing about stranger danger in school was something that I never felt like I had to really pay attention to because I felt like where I lived was a safe enough area that it didn't matter. I've loved both watching and being a part of Pony Express Days, the parade and the rodeo, watching it grow. Especially I remember when I was still out in City Center and sitting on the roundabout watching everything go by. I've lived here long enough, if you've lived here long enough, you'll remember that the buffalo that someone used to raise off SR 73, the crazy amount of voles we had one summer, when we used to have to make sure all of our pets were inside overnight because of the coyotes that roamed our backyards. I remember the insane windstorms she was talking about. It seemed like every time that we had one, someone ended up with a new trampoline. In high school, a friend from Lehigh came to City Center for the first time to pick me up, and he asked me if we even got radio stations out here. I've seen the city go from a small grocery store in the city center to now a Ridley's and 3 gas stations. I've had my first kiss in this city. I learned how to drive on these roads. Went to my first high school dance here, learned how to read, write, and even owned my first pet in this city. And Eagle Mountain will always be home. And I appreciate and I'm grateful for everyone here who's made that possible. I absolutely love this city, and I've loved being a part of it. So thank you.
Thank you all. Thank you, ladies, for sharing so many of those memories. It kind of reminds me of why I even got into this in the first place. Before I go on, wanted to recognize Mark Lofgren as well. As Mark here? Hey, Mark. You didn't speak up earlier. Anyway, Mark is also a past elected official. We appreciate you being here as well. No, I wish we could sit around all day and just share stories of what Eagle Mountain was like, because I think many of us in this room have had these unique experiences. I'm just going to share one, and that is I moved here in 2007, which seems like a lifetime ago. For many of you, you're like, geez, you haven't even hardly lived here yet. But I just remember we were the very first house in Autumn Ridge. The only houses that were over on that side of the street was Eagle Park, and we're kind of off in the outer darkness by ourselves. And I remember going to take the trash out one morning, and literally a herd of antelope went flying down my side yard and scared the daylights out of me. I dropped the trash and took a step back, and I recognized that they were just in search of something to eat. Luckily, not my trash. Anyway, that was my memory of when I first moved here. Back then, I think it was a two-way stop on Redwood Road. That was all. It was just a stop sign. It's kind of neat. Anyway, I like hearing all of these things that each of you share. Well, moving on, though it's really impossible for us to go through all of the accomplishments that have taken place in this city over the last 20 years, we've tried to capture, I think, kind of the essence and some of those things that have taken place over the last 20 years with the video that we've put together. Shows, again, some of the significant events. So we'll go ahead and play that right now, and then I'll conclude with some additional remarks. Well, I don't know about you guys. I've only been doing this job for 3 years. Many of you in this room have invested a whole lot more time directly into the community than I have. But frankly, just watching that makes me get a little nostalgic and emotional about all of the things that have taken place in this city over the last 20 years. And anyway, it's neat to be a part of it. My guess is that if I asked each of the elected officials in the room what it means to be a public servant, you guys would all probably give a similar answer. It means the definition might be something like being a public servant is a sacred honor and a great responsibility. You'd probably say that it means being a vigilant protector of the public interest and looking out for the community's best interest instead of your own. You might say that it means being a passionate advocate for the greater good of the community. And you might say that it means doing some unpleasant things sometimes or doing some heavy lifting simply because you know that heavy lifting has to be done by someone, and it might as well be you. I suspect, though, as public servants in Eagle Mountain, that we'd all have something in common that we might give as part of the definition, and that is that public service is simply having a sense of possibility with what could be with a place. And with Eagle Mountain, it's taken a lot of vision from a lot of people to get us from where we were 20 years ago to where we are today. And I think that many of us probably share that. Many of us probably have that in common, and I think I can see signs of it all over the place when I look at what's happened here. With that, I'd like to recognize the first mayor of Eagle Mountain, Debbie Hoagie. And Mayor Hoagie, if you come up here, and while you're doing that, I just want to thank you for the work that you've started here. Of all of the mayors of Eagle Mountain, past and present, we've relied, all of us, we've relied upon vision to get us where we need to go and to lead this city and to hold on tight to that sense of possibility for what we can be tomorrow. While it's not always an easy task, I must recognize that we, at least all the mayors that have come after you, we've had the benefit of seeing what was behind us. Well, you didn't have any such benefit. You had to rely completely on vision to take us where we wanted to go. And Mayor Hoagie, I think we can safely say today that your efforts were successful. That Eagle Mountain is that special place that you envision, and I can confidently say that we are where we are today because we have all stood on your shoulders. And so we wanted to give you a plaque as a token of appreciation for all the things that you've done and the heavy lifting that you did in those early days. Thank you very much. Mayor Hoagie, you left very quickly. Do you want to say any words? Once a politician, always a politician. We like to talk, so.
I didn't start out a politician, so in my defense, I don't like to talk. I thank you, but the city is the result of everybody in this room, and I am happy and was thrilled at the time to play a small part. I had some good partners. I had some good friends that I was able to work with. Rob Bateman and Scott, who was here, and Mr. Wallen. Not sure we were friends, but we certainly worked together. But it was fun, and it was wonderful. And I have to say that one of the scriptures in Proverbs was something that I pondered a lot. And it says, without vision, the people perish. And it was sort of my personal watchguard as I had a short term as mayor. And so I kept it in mind and realized that while I didn't do all the work, I needed to help establish the vision. I was grateful to do that. Thank you.
Well, thanks again, Mayor Hoagie. So, as mayor, I have the opportunity to speak to a lot of other elected officials and mayors across the state. And as I speak to the other mayors, it really strikes me how every community has their own attributes that make them unique. And each community, each city in this state really seems to take on a personality of its own. And that is no different for Eagle Mountain. We definitely have a personality of our own. We have things that make us special. And as I look back through history, it strikes me that one of our prior city slogans was, and I think I'll get this right, but you guys can correct me if I get it wrong. It was Eagle Mountain, Utah's new frontier. Was that right? Okay. Some of you may have had a hand in bringing that slogan to be, I don't know. But as I look back in history and I look at that slogan, I can't help but to think back to where we started. Just a bunch of dirt. That was all it was. Just a bunch of dirt. That was Eagle Mountain's roots. There was so much land and nothing here. Wide open spaces and beautiful views. That's what we had going for us back then. And as a side note, do you guys have any idea how many people I run into that say, oh yeah, I remember when I used to go take my kids out there and shoot jackrabbits? If I had $1 for every time somebody said that to me, I would be a wealthy man. I'm sure many of you would be too. In any case, well, the slogan doesn't remain. The fact is we have been Utah's new frontier for 20 years now. And I think that that's going to continue. There's things happening here in Eagle Mountain that nobody else can say. We're out here by ourselves. We're independent. We've had to be. And there are things happening here that are not attached to what's going on with our neighbors like so many other places throughout Utah. And it all started as dirt. So today, over 31,000 people call Eagle Mountain home. And people who now live on this dirt that were once out here shooting jackrabbits with their parents, and now they're homeowners. Rapid growth, young families, and the occasional jackrabbit. That is our personality, at least part of it. But all across the city, within the borders of the 52 square miles that make up Eagle Mountain, there are young couples celebrating the purchase of their first home. There's couples who are bringing home their newborn babies from the hospital. There's people who are having their first Christmas, their first kiss in Eagle Mountain. These things are happening all across the city, and I think that it's neat to think about. But the question is, I don't think it's much of a question. That's happening for one reason, and that is because somebody decided to invest their time and their resources in building this. Now, I don't need to tell any of you that government doesn't really build much. We take other people's resources to build the things that we can, but we do not build communities. It takes individuals with resources and dedication to build a community. Two such people are here with us today, and we'd like to recognize them and their efforts for their contribution to Eagle Mountain. And even though the elected officials, I think, have to have a tremendous amount of vision for the city, there's just as much vision necessary from the developers, the people who made this what it is today. And I'd like to invite Scott Kirkland and John Walden up. Gentlemen, we'd like to thank you for your investment in this community and the things that you did to make Eagle Mountain what it is today. And thank you for your vision and the tireless efforts that you put into this community over so many years. Thank you.
Thank you.
Either of you like to say a few words?
Okay,
You can
so-
both say a few words.
Now, one thing, when I bought 8,000 acres out here and started the city of Eagle Mountain with the county, I took my daughter, who now lives here, and my grandson lives here, and I took her up on what's called Walden Point, up on the very top up there, and And I showed her what I saw, which was an airport and buildings and taking off and hospitals and universities. And my daughter looked at me, and I think she was about 7 years old, and she said, "Dad, if there's ever a shortage of dirt, you have plenty." So I totally get the thing about the dust storms and all of that, and we've come a long ways. And but I'm going to tell you, because I've been traveling a lot, trying to bring industry out here into Eagle Mountain and to my industrial park down here, that there's even greater things awaiting us. And I will sit here and predict, probably won't happen will happen after I'm not here, but we'll become the largest city in Utah. Our airport is the same size as Salt Lake International, and we actually have a lot of interest in that arena right now. So our greatness is coming. The first slogan that we started here wasn't the Frontier thing. It was, we want to start a city with the values of the past and the vision and the technology of the future. That was the first slogan that came along. So I'll let Mr. Kirkland tell you what he saw when he first came out.
So in 1993, I was at a land planning convention in Dallas, and at the time I was building homes in South Provo and in the mud and the muck down there, and this whole convention was about master plan communities, and it was really exciting. But to me, all I saw were dollar signs and, the reasons why that never would happen. And I remember flying home from Dallas excited about that concept. But, my past had always been small development. So anyway, I dreamt and got disappointed and got off that airplane. I was driving home, still thinking about it, and I couldn't get it out of my mind. And I came around the point of the mountain on the freeway, and for some reason I looked west, and I really honestly had never been on that side of the freeway, ever. And I looked west into that little pass where SR 73 heads up and over, and I can't tell you the feeling that came over me, but it was just this flush, amazing feeling that that's where it's going to be. And I went back home and kind of excited for a day or two, but I was back in the mud and the muck, and got a call 6 months later from a man in Denver. Bless his soul, he has gone from us now. His name was Phil Nolan. And he said, "I have an idea. Can I pick you up?" He picked me up in Orem. We drove, we got off the freeway, and we headed west toward that, and we got out there, and he said, "This is where I have this idea, about building 5-acre lots. The county zoning was perfect." And that feeling hit me again. And I had it happen one more time when I was at the meeting, I think, where the county commissioners said yes to the city of Eagle Mountain. And, those were just amazing opportunities for me to dream and to, think about what could be. But there were a lot of barricades in front of us, and most of them had to do with dollar signs. But great people came, and Debbie Hoagie and I had the opportunity of tying the land up together. Had people like Scott Hazard and Brian Haskell, Ryan Kent, just great friends that I was able to work with, and I still call them, dear friends to this day. I always looked at this opportunity to work with the city as a partnership. And it wasn't always easy to keep our commitments. You know, sometimes we wanted to build the greatest parks or the greatest roads or but unfortunately there were these things called cycles, and it got difficult. But I drive through now, and I've been, I had to find real work in 2009. So it wasn't until just this year that I started a new project, and I'm really excited working with Ryan on this Ochre Mountain Ranch project here. But, you know, coming back and seeing the parks full of people, the retail happening, the churches full of cars, and the schools, and it's pretty neat to see this happen. I had a point, kind of like John Walden said, he had a Walden Point. I called it Inspiration Point. It was up above Point Lookout neighborhood, and I'd go up there and just look and try to envision the next subdivision or the next idea and what we might do. And it was a great ride, and I thank everybody that we've crossed paths with. It wasn't easy, but we did it together, and it's pretty awesome to know there's 31,000 people that call this effort home. Thank you.
Finding where I was. Still finding where I am. All right. So we have some other recognitions here, and out of the 20-year history, which admittedly is a brief blip on the map, 20 years is really not that long. For some of us it is, but the fact is, in our city's history, being only 20 years, we've got some people here, 3 in fact, that have served for almost half of that, who've been public servants to the residents of Eagle Mountain for nearly half of that. We've got 3 individuals who have spent 8 years dedicated to public service, and we'd like to recognize those now. I'd like to recognize Mayor Heather Jackson. And council members Ryan Ireland and Donna Burnham. Thank you. And I'll give each of you an opportunity. If you want to say a few words, you're more than welcome to.
I'll be brief. I loved listening to all 3 of our longtime residents talking tonight. I was the other A month of 98. I moved in August. Kaylee, I remember when you moved in. She was in my neighborhood, you know. I was the first one on my street. And it was so fun to see our history and all the things we accomplished over this 20-year period. I remember coming to city council meetings when Diane and Diane were here. I don't know that I came when Debbie was still serving, but I did come when Rob was. And, you know, and it's so exciting just to see all of these people in this room who have contributed so much to Eagle Mountain. I loved my time serving. It is one of the true blessings in my life, and I love living here in Eagle Mountain. My parents have moved here since and live just down the street from me, and it's such a great place to raise a family And I'm just so grateful for all the things that we've done in Eagle Mountain. And it's so fun to see the difference from when we first moved out here to what it is now. Having a gas station just down the street from me opened is phenomenal. It is so cool. But I love this city, and I hope you all love the time that you have serving our community. It is such a joy and such a great thing to do. And we have so many awesome city employees and people that have contributed to our city. There's nothing like it, nothing like it. So enjoy it, and thank you for the time that I had serving.
It was such a privilege to serve the city. I enjoyed every minute of it, even the ugly emails that I got. Even that, it was okay. It was great. Thank you, Mayor, for doing this. I got to tell you, it feels like a family reunion, doesn't it? It's just so fun to see so many people that I haven't seen in such a long time, and just the energy in the room. So fun to see so many people who've put their hearts and souls into this city, and we've accomplished a lot. It's been a great thing, and it's been a we thing. So thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Good to be with you, and I appreciate Mayor and City Council and staff for putting this on. This is wonderful. When Tani and I bought our lot in April of 98, I think, our youngest was 2 and our oldest was 8. This is home. They grew up here. My youngest is getting married in a month, and my oldest is built his own home here in Eagle Mountain. The next generation that grew up here is now building homes and calling this home, and it's just a great place, and it's because of all of you. It was an honor and a privilege for me and for my family to be a part of it and be able to participate in our city and be able to serve our community, and I thoroughly enjoyed it, and thank you very much.
So there's one other group I'd like to recognize, though I don't have plaques for them. I recognize that tonight we're here to really recognize past elected officials and the developers, the people who've invested so much time and energy into this community. But I'd be remiss if I didn't recognize the employees, both past and present, of Eagle Mountain. Being an elected official, I can say that, sure, it's a great effort. It really is. But I know that we've got employees who've been here a whole lot longer than I have, and a lot longer even than some of the elected officials in the room. We've got some employees who've been here, maybe not since the very beginning, but darn near. And Eagle Mountain would not be what it is today without the Herculean effort of so many employees. And so while I can't give you guys all a plaque, I can give you my gratitude. And I know that each of the people who have served in elected capacity before would also thank you, because I see a lot of heads nodding. But to each of the employees who are sitting in the room today, I want to thank you so much for the blood, sweat, and tears that you've poured into this community. It means a lot to us. Thank you. And though I know it's probably going to make him uncomfortable, I'm going to do it anyway. And wanted to say to Ifo Pili, Ifo, I want to give you a specific thanks for what you've done with this city. Ifo, you've spent a lot of time here, and I think you know this city about as well as anyone. You've been here through some very difficult times when you had a choice where you could either step up and be the leader or you could sit back and wait for somebody else to do it, which I'm sure it would have been easier at times. But Ifo, your companionship, your leadership, and your talent have meant so much to me as I've spent the last 3 years, and I appreciate everything that you've done for this city and for me. Thank you. Okay, and one last individual and effort. I also want to recognize Paul. And where is Paul? Paul, you here? Okay, Paul's hiding in the back. Paul's, how long have you been with the city, Paul? 9 years. Okay. Paul's been with the city for 9 years in various capacity, mostly dealing with numbers and money. And he now serves as our assistant city administrator. And likewise, Paul, your help has been absolutely instrumental in not only this administration, but I know administrations past have relied heavily on your expertise in your financial understanding. And this city's been through some very difficult times where resources were not there. And through wizardry with numbers, you've carried us through much of that. And we appreciate those efforts and what you've done for us. And also, for those of you who don't know, since we're talking about the nostalgia of the city and everything that's happened past and present and what we're looking for in the future, Paul is a bit of a history buff, and he enjoys the history of Eagle Mountain and what's happened here even before it was Eagle Mountain. And so I invite you, when this is done, outside there's some new display cases, which has been an ongoing project that Paul's taken on, to put together some of Eagle Mountain's history and to share that. It's maybe the itty-bitty baby steps of an Eagle Mountain museum someday. So we're looking forward to what that will become. But Paul, I thank you for your mentorship and your efforts here. I wish I could call out every employee by name, and the fact of the matter is that most of you, let's face it, what the heck do I know? If I were here without most of you guys, I'd just be floating in the wind somewhere, and nothing would get done. So I really and truly do appreciate each of you, and I wish I could call you out by name, but we'd be here far too long. With that, just want to share some final thoughts with you. We all know we started this journey in 1997. We had 250 residents and a budget. This blew my mind. A budget of only $300,000 to get done everything that the city needed to get done. So Debbie, you're owed some additional gratitude for pulling that off. I'm not sure how that works. Sorry, I'm having a Marco Rubio moment. Today, we've got a budget of $9.5 million to serve over 31,000 residents. Wish you had that back then, huh? The fact of the matter is, in the early years, growth was an important part of just being able to keep the wheels on and keep things going. Well, I'm happy to report that is no longer the case. The work that you've done and the work that this council have done, we are now in a place where if the wheels fell off and the growth stopped, we would be able to continue on. It might be painful, but it's not required for us to be sustainable. We can go on without the growth. And I think that's an important part of us moving forward, because the growth, as we've seen, doesn't continue indefinitely. At some point it does stop. But we do like the revenues when they do come in. It helps us to do all sorts of wonderful things. I have to imagine that every elected official here has felt at some point or another that they were ever so close to seeing this or that thing happen within the community. And hopefully, many of you have had a chance to see some of those things come to fruition, to become Eagle Mountain's new reality, whether it be a park being built or a trail being finished. But those things are going to continue, and I hope you have a time to check off all of those things and see everything that you ever dreamed of when you were in office being done. I have those things too, and I hope that someday we will see this and that happen, and I'm sure that we will. It may not be me, it may be somebody else, but I'm sure that those things will happen. I will say that today I have the same expectant feeling about the state of our economic development and bringing in major jobs into the city. I think that is on the doorstep, and I hope that we can see that in the next few years. I'm also happy to report that not more than an hour ago, the City Council allocated just over $2 million to Phase 1A of Quarry Ride Memorial Park. And so that baseball complex will get a nice announcer's booth and snack shack and bathrooms and shade sails and landscaping and trails and parking lot and all of the things that you come to expect in a nice, high-class facility. That stuff is coming, and in the next year, I'm sure we'll be looking at future allocations for the rest of Quarry Ride too. So those things are right on the doorstep. There are many other things that I hope to see in the coming years, and I won't bore you with the details of those today. But as time marches on, I find the satisfaction in the accomplishments that each day brings, and I hope that you can too. And as the things that are happening today, the things that you see taking place that maybe you would have liked to have seen possibly when you were in office or you hoped for someday, I hope that you recognize that those things are a result of the direct investment that each and every one of you made in this community, and I thank you for that. You're all here because you played a significant role in the vision of what Eagle Mountain would someday be. And like you, someday, I'm sure I'll be looking at what some future administration is doing with this city. And I hope that at that point I can look and recognize that I at least had some small part in that and some significant contribution to make. Just as I hope that each one of you sitting here today recognizes that you had a very significant contribution to what has happened in Eagle Mountain up to this point and what will happen tomorrow. And I hope that that's the one thing that you guys all walk away with, because that is so important. You guys have made a meaningful impact on this community. I count it as my great fortune to play some small part in what's going on here. And I think, I don't know, I have to imagine that it's the same for you guys, that I truly believe that Eagle Mountain is the best city in the state of Utah. And I think that something special is happening here. And I know I said it already, but I'm going to say it again. It is such an honor and such a blessing to play any small role in whatever that may be. It's humbling, and just hearing the stories and the experiences of every one of you here just makes me feel all the more honored to be part of this. We share that together, and I won't ramble on anymore. Just thank you guys for your contributions to this community. It means the world to me, and I hope you guys have found joy and gratification in that. God bless you all. God bless Eagle Mountain, and God bless the United States of America.